Sir, please let's start. It's exactly 6. We have already started recording. So I think just a minute. So Professor Anand, is he here? Yeah, yeah. Hi, Anand.
Hello,
Yeah,
namaskar.
namaste. Welcome.
Hey.
So so it's exactly 6. So I think we should start now. Okay, over to you, Dilli sir and Durga, please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening and namaste, everyone. Warm welcome to you all in today's webinar on piloting a Nepal culture and art education framework, sharing learning. Thank you all for joining us. Myself, Dilli Bahadur Raut. My friend,
Durga Pandey.
we will be your master of ceremony for this evening.
To start further, we like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Dr. Anand Breed and Dr. Sarah Huxley from Mobile Art for Peace, MAP, University of Lincoln, UK.
Similarly, we would like to acknowledge the presence of Assistant Professor Binod Prasad Pant, Head, Department of STEAM Education, Kathmandu University. Further, we would like to acknowledge the valuable presence of Assistant Professor Rajiv Timal Sinha from Tribhuvan University. On the same manner, we acknowledge the presence of Navabasnath Thapa and Agat Avasti from UNESCO Kathmandu.
Further, we also like to welcome the representatives from Educational Science and Technology Ministry. Like to welcome Mr. Purushottam Himire as a representatives of Curriculum Development Center CDC. Further, we also like to welcome representatives from the Educational Review Office ERO, Center for Educational and Human Resource Development CEHRD Nepal. We also welcome the representatives from Kathmandu Metropolitan City and academicians from Kathmandu University, Tribhuvan University, including various educational institutes.
Today, we will discuss on piloting a Nepal culture and art education framework. Respected participants, we would like to introduce this project in brief. This project was conducted from October 2023 to July 2024, a research collaboration between Kathmandu University and Mobile Art for Peace. It focuses on developing 20 lesson plan for education framework to integrate art-based exercises into secondary school curricula for culture and art education in Nepal. This initiative, responding to needs identified at the UNESCO MAP Roundtable in September 2023, aligned with global and local educational goals, including the implementation of UNESCO framework on culture and art education and supporting Kathmandu's UNESCO Creative Cities designation. For this, we 5 MPhil scholars in STEAM education at Kathmandu University School of Education designed and implemented 20 interdisciplinary art-based lessons in both public and institutional schools in the Kathmandu Valley and Itari sub-metropolitan city of Sunsari district, Kosi province, taking the concept from Mobile Art for Peace map. This lesson incorporated principles such as interdisciplinary integration of arts with subjects like social studies, English language, science, Newari, that is the local subject of Kathmandu metropolitan city with local cultural form such that Dhannas, Sakela, Deuda, Asare Geet, Tis Geet, Mithila arts, etc. to develop and enhance creativity, playfulness, and responsiveness in the learning. This framework encourages student-centered and art-based pedagogies to promote different life skills such that critical thinking, creative thinking, problem-solving skill, decision-making skill, empathy, interpersonal skill, communication and collaboration, aiming to build a comprehensive foundation for art education in Nepal.
Dear valued educators, to add further, the pilot program success lies in its strategical blending on local epistemology with global educational frameworks. By integrating art with other disciplines, the lesson provided experiential learning opportunities beyond traditional classroom setting, aligning with Nepal's educational policies, promoting interdisciplinary approaches and community-based learning. This pilot lesson highlighted the importance of using culturally relevant materials and creative teaching methods to engage students actively in learning. This approach not only aligned with Nepal's curriculum goals, but also fostered the deeper understanding of cultural heritage, local knowledge, and critical social issues, setting the groundwork for a robust, integrating Nepal art educational framework.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to highlight the main agenda of this webinar. In this webinar, we present the development of pilot art education framework by Kathmandu University and Mobile Art for Peace.
In today's webinar, we invite participants to provide feedback on the lesson plans and the overall framework.
We also acknowledge and celebrate the contribution of teacher and student involved in this pilot project.
We disseminate the pilot arts education framework to a wider audience, including all relevant stakeholders.
We provide the opportunity for brainstorm to formalize and further develop the pilot framework in our school education.
We encourage all valued participants to engage in discussion on how to advance the work.
We also focus on the collaboration with all concerned on the next step for formalization, expansion, and long-term implementation of the pilot project.
Now, our pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Anand Breed and Mr. Rajiv Timal Sinha, who will give an overview of the Mobile Art for Peace project in Nepal. May I request Professor Dr. Anand Breed to take the floor.
Thank you so much, Dilli and Durga, for that wonderful overview and contextualization of the arts education framework that we're sharing and exploring together today. And Binod and Kathmandu University, just for this amazing initiative in which students from Kathmandu University have worked alongside MAP to develop the lesson plans and to pilot them in schools. So really actively engaging the users in terms of the design and development of the arts education framework. I'm going to share a presentation now in relationship to the MAP project. So please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, please go on.
Excellent. So the Mobile Arts for Peace project was a 4-year project funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council Global Challenges Research Fund. It aimed to inform national curriculum and youth policy in 4 countries, in Nepal, Kyrgyzstan, Indonesia, and Rwanda, by influencing curricula and approaches to working within and out of school youth to address global challenges, and to create structures and modes of communication between youth and policymakers from the local to the global. Since 2020, we've engaged with over 7,250 research participants, totaling over 28,124 research participants since the initial implementation of MAP, working with over 194 partner organizations, delivering over 854 engagement activities, which were aimed to produce arts-based outputs such as films, comics, visual arts, performances, including over 312 artistic products to date. So across the 4 years, there were a number of activities which really aim to explore the use of an adaptation of local cultural forms in terms of exploring how the art forms could be used to enhance dialogue between children and young people, civil society workers, educators, and decision makers. Through the MAP process, we developed a methodology, a manual or toolkit that then was used to train trainers, which included youth researchers, teachers, youth workers, set up MAP clubs throughout the 4 countries, and then engage young people as co-researchers, in which they actually led 32 small grant research projects. And based on their findings, we funded an additional 8 medium grant projects and 2 commission projects that were then implemented to really enhance the dialogic approaches and platforms for young people to speak to decision makers through arts-based methods. In this way, the use of local cultural forms was really important in terms of creating a local epistemology and really ensuring that local culture informed knowledge production. We then worked alongside 2 large grant projects in terms of working with youth researchers to monitor, evaluate, and extend and expand the learning from the project. So I'm going to pass it over now to Rajiv Timosina from Tribhuvan University in terms of expanding on the context of the MAP work in Nepal. Over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Ananda. I think I'm just sharing a few points. Like when MAP started, actually is around 2019. I'm just giving some points. For example, Nepal, we say post-conflict because the conflict officially ended in 2006, but still the issue of transitional justice is incomplete. And if you see last like 15 years in Nepal, we spend a lot of time in discussing about why we need more inclusion in terms of gender, caste, ethnicity, and also geography and many other issues, and also about identity, how we give the voice and space for different segment of society. Nepal is multilingual, multi-religious, multi-ethnic country. Because of that, we are rich in various cultural art forms. And also another point, we are one of the youngest population in the world. Almost 40% of our population is below 18 years in this decade. Means we are youngest country in the world right now. And in that context, now we have new local governments, and they are working on local curriculum because after new constitution, many local, like our local government got the right to work on school education. So there are a lot of conversations going on in many local governments. They want to change education pedagogy. They want to change teaching culture. They are talking about innovation. But the question is how? How among questions many people. So in that context, art-based method, we brought this for expression, like those people who are suffering or going through different kind of layers of discrimination. Also about dialogue between young people and the policymakers, and that the policies people making right now are the senior, and the policy is going to impact those young people who are coming up, but they don't have any voice, how they can shape and how they can influence the policy making. And also about teaching, how we prepare our next generation, how we are interacting with our students in classrooms. So art-based methods, MAP came in that context in Nepal. So we have, as Ananda said, we have different phases. So I'm just giving a brief snapshot. In phase 1, in baseline, We went to 7 different locations in Nepal. We conducted a group discussion interview with hundreds of people, mostly the young people, 12 to 24 years. And 5 key issues were identified as a main problem for young people right now, how they see from their lens. 1, gender-based and caste-based discrimination. That's the first one. Many people reportedly say that they see this is very problematic. And unemployment is second one. Many young people have fear of their life and career because of unemployment. And foreign level migration means people see the brain drain how the quality of people are leaving this country and how it is impacting our quality of life. And red tape, the lot of red tapeism in bureaucracy, service delivery, and corruption, also unstable politics, and another one, difficult to reach rural areas, uneven geographies. These are the main points. And already I said, many children and young people in Nepal, they are already, if you see the literatures, they're showed the poverty is another big issue, limited access to education and healthcare is another issue in throughout the remote geographies, and also political instability causing our very unstable service delivery and also our performances in the university, in the schools, in the, I think, local government level. So there are a lot of issues our young people voicing. So it's not coming from our side. It's all many young people, they clearly saying this. And now I think I have seen in the higher level, also in the ground level, in community level, all people agree that we need to change the way we are teaching. We need to change the way we are doing politics. Everyone agrees that. The question is how. Many, I think, the people know the problem. The people have conversations about the problem. But only thing, how is kind of people are looking for that. People are looking for some kind of solution. So we thought, rather than coming from top down, bringing something, we thought to engage young people and children using art-based method. Here, art-based method means local cultural arts. So we are not bringing from outside. We are trying to take the art forms that exist in our own community, that where young people are growing up watching them, and taking them inside as a teaching pedagogy or kind of means of expression or means of dialogue, and how we can facilitate the dialogue between policymakers or those people, influential people who decide with young people. And at the same time, how we can use those cultural forms as a teaching pedagogy or teaching methods inside a classroom, so that even teachers can use those our existing cultural forms inside from Nepal to address social issues, to influence curricula, and also to talk about the youth policy. So that's the main point. So if we see our partners and users from the first phase, we worked in 5 local government official area, and 22 school leaders were involved in the process. 7 child club leaders they were part of our project. They were leading the projects, and 70 local artists were involved designing the art-based materials in different locations of Nepal, and 9 researchers were part of the first phase. And yeah, we have other stakeholders from government agencies also in that phase. And phase 2 is interesting because we slightly shift to another kind of grants. We call for the open funding and 7 small grants. Small grant means 7 school-based child club received the grants. So this is a school-based child clubs. They got the grant to work with the teachers to implement, to try the map methodology in their school, different forms. So they chose the topic they want to work. They decided the art form they want to use, and they also propose how they want to use. So all those 7 grants in different parts of the country were executed. After that, we commissioned 2 medium grants. Those grants were implemented in Surkhet, Makwanpur, Lalitpur, Kathmandu, and Dhanusa. So those districts. And as a part, the 3 major universities were involved, professors, students were involved in that phase. Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu University, Midwest University from Surkhet, and also some organizations like Human Rights Film Center, Janaki Women Awareness Society, Karkhana, and other various organizations were part of that. And more than 20 schools also were involved in that phase. Another important entity we have from the medium phase is we have now YA team. It's a youth advocacy and advisory research team. So there are more than 30 young girls who are between 16 to 24 years old. They formed a small group, Luz Network, and they are working with image theater, art-based method to lobby for raising voice about social issues, also about the informing curriculum, how they can change, how they can contribute to change in this process. So if we talk about the achievements, we involved more than 20 adult researchers in Nepal. We have more than 40 young researchers who are between 16 to 24 years, and we have 30 plus teachers work directly in schools, and almost 4,126 children and young people were directly took part in the somehow as a research participants during our implementing phase. And as an output, if you see, we have more than 7 policy briefs. We have 1 edited book, we are the part of edited book, and we have 2 research articles. We have more than 100 short videos about prepared by the young people of those lessons and those practices. We have more than 20 plus workshops that are led by young people, many times co-created between adult researchers and young people. So another achievement is we had 7 local roundtables in local levels. After the policy briefs and all those output arrived, they like local decision makers and the schools and the young people sat together, they shared, they have this conversation. We have 3 national roundtables in the last 3 years. And finally, last year, we had 1 national roundtable with the UNESCO MAP collaborating together. And now finally, the next step, when you talk about this, I think we, even right now, we have some kind of conversations working on in the local curriculum in Tansen municipality, in Bhimsen, like Bhimdatanagar municipality in Kanchanpur, and also in Dhanusai, in some local government. We are working on local government, like local curriculums. Also, we have practice how we have in Nepal, we have provision that every school should have child club, but many schools have child club either dysfunctional or not active. So when we worked, we try to link this child club, make them functional, and then they work that with the policymakers in their local ward or municipality level to discuss about their problem. And also, so that's how we are connecting young people to the decision makers, from schools, child club leadership, to sitting with the local decision maker, deciding about the issues that impacts them. Also, we are working community curriculum through some of the open, for the non-formal or also informal or formal schooling, we can use that. And now, right now, also this last almost 1 year, Kathmandu University STEAM department working on this MAP methodology, how they can integrate it with this in the curriculum. And UNESCO and MAP is collaborating for different projects. They are working on that. So we have different set of activities. If we say, for me, what are the main tasks you focus right now? So even though our project officially ended, but it's kind of like community of practice. So we are working together to increase focus on policies that support youth structures. We are trying to incorporate more local art forms in the methodology. We are developing effective methods for participatory action research. And finally, we are ensuring that how we can change or how we can bring in alternative ways so that we can ensure target research groups, for example, our young people, marginalized group people, other people can be effectively reached and represented in our team. So that's our main, thank you. Ananda, would you like to add something?
Thank you very much, Rajiv. I believe we'll hand it over to our Master of Ceremonies. Back to Dilli and Durga.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Ananda and Rajiv Timalsina, sir, for that insightful overview. Dear participant, now we will shift our focus to the pilot project itself, where we have been developing the art education framework in collaboration with Kathmandu University. For this, may I request Dr. Sara and Assistant Professor Binod Pant, sir, to take the floor, please.
Dr. Sara.
Great, thank you so much. Namaskar Sabah Harulai. Matapai Harulai Betra Etum Kushilagio. I know my English Majanchu. Okay, so hello, it's a real pleasure to have all of you with us. This has been a really, really important piece of work and collaboration, I know, for Ananda and myself. So I'm just going to speak very briefly before handing over to Binod to talk more about the process of developing the curriculum. Before Binod goes into that, I'm just going to share some of the guiding principles that helped us think about how do we consider and how do we approach developing a pilot arts education framework in Nepal. So let's have a look. So we had some initial discussions amongst ourselves as to what types of pedagogy, what types of teaching and learning approaches that we thought would be relevant. So for this, we were drawing on the context in Nepal and local understandings and knowledge, as well as around the MAP methodology and the MAP manual, which you'll hear a bit more about that the master's students develop the exercises with. So drawing from the MAP manual, we had certain principles to help us think about the lessons and how they could be shaped. So the first one was around interdisciplinary approaches. And for us, that was combining arts-based exercises with other disciplines. So for example, that meant an art form, so a practice or an exercise using arts, and transferring that with or into a social studies lesson, an existing biology lesson, and so forth. So in the lesson plans that will be shared with you and examples of those, you'll see things like the exploration of folk songs to understand intergenerational themes for social studies classes, the use of a visual heritage tree, so that adapts one exercise from the MAP manual, a problem tree. And the idea around that is to assess challenges and solutions through the drawing of a tree, its branches and roots symbolizing different aspects of problems and solutions. And that was connected into a lesson plan around preserving cultural heritage. Another example is the use of role play and skits, so theatre, performance art, in bringing that into a lesson, and that is in a lesson plan exploring migration. So the second guiding principle around thinking around arts-based and learner-centered pedagogy was around the adaptation of living cultural forms. So this really is around exploring local cultural art forms, and behind that, local knowledges. For example, Dauda, there's a lesson plan particularly connected to the performance art of Dauda. And it was important that these were modeling lessons to engage learners to consider the evolution of cultural forms. So the consideration in this project was seeing art forms as living and evolving. So whilst there is a strong focus on preservation of cultural heritage in the curriculum, what MAP also brings is the understanding that these are living forms that students will engage with considering how they are developing. A third principle was around creativity and playfulness. So that brings in notions of imagination, the importance of acknowledging diverse perspectives, and a space to open possibilities. So complementary to, this is kind of complementary to learner-centered teaching. The fourth guidance is around civic engagement and social issues. So this was really thinking around development of a responsive mindset to address real social issues. So the lessons connect, many of them connect in some way to social issues that students are dealing with in their everyday lives and communities. And as this is piloting, these guiding principles are very much a starting point. And really what we're hoping is as we take this work further with many of you, is how we can continue to develop and cement these principles in the pedagogy. So, thank you so much. I'll now pass back to Binod.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So I kindly request participant to mute Krishna Kumar sir. So there will be question answer sessions. You can contribute once we finish our presentations. So let me share few things. Is it visible, my slide? Yeah.
Yes. That's great.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Visible.
So so let me share what we did in this entire process. So one is that first of all, we reviewed our national curriculum because there were 5 MPhil scholars who contributed in this entire journey. And because they also belong to the particular subjects, and then so they found themselves comfortable to review their own curricula. And then at first they reviewed the curriculum, and at the same time, they also reviewed this map manual, because the map manual is a living document, and there are several lessons or the projects that can be very useful in our context as well. And then on one side, so they have our next review of national curriculum, especially the objectives, and the other side, the map manual review. And then they come up with the national curriculum mapping. So where can we feed the specific the ideas of map in our particular learning objectives? And then once they come up with this mapping these 2 ideas, and then they prepare the lesson plans, and then we had we invested several months to review those lessons plan. So it is still under revision, because we believe that this is the ongoing the document. And then once it is tentatively finalized, and they all implemented those lesson plans in the natural setting, because they all are school teachers as well, and then they implemented them in their classes. And once they implemented their lesson plans, and they develop a very rich field notes or field data, their experiences, and they produce these reflective notes. And in that reflective notes, they came up with the idea that so which part has made a very significant contributions in the lessons, and which part has not made so. And then because this is a completely and research approach. So so having said this, let me share a few things about this particular ideas, because whenever we reviewed this national curriculum framework, our team reviewed, so there are several ideas. And what we realized that one of the major ideas in the entire document is the holistic development of children through child-centered learning. So it has been repeatedly so mentioned in the national curriculum. And what we realize, because we are also teacher and teacher educator, whenever the major ideas of national curriculum framework comes into the level of classroom teaching, so sometimes we feel that the major ideas is dismantled, because all subject teachers are very much dedicated to teach the subject specific let's say the outcomes, very much measurable kind of outcomes. And then there is a very big questions whenever we focus much on subject specific outcomes, whether it contributes to the holistic development or not. And the second, what we felt, the promotions of this the soft skills and life skills. So it has been mentioned in our curriculum. And then whenever we see our day-to-day classroom teaching practices, there is really a big questions whether the students are connecting their lessons with the life skills or not, whether the activities are designed in such a way that students develop soft skills during this pedagogical approaches. And the next one is, we can see that the document has also mentioned we need to acknowledge social, cultural, and linguistic diversities so of our country, because we are very rich in different this social aspect. And then especially in some of the subjects, it seems that very challenging to bring those aspects in our classroom teaching. And our scholars, they thought that we can even incorporate those aspects in so-called dry subjects such as biology or the mathematics, and then they have brought these examples such as the local needs. And next important thing is that how can we promote these local values and different wisdom traditions. So this is what I really felt this interesting when I again reviewed this national curriculum framework. So it is well written. So it has written that there are different wisdom traditions. We need to acknowledge those wisdom traditions. So whenever we go into our classroom systems, whether we are acknowledging those wisdom traditions or not, so there is a big question. And finally, the major idea is that we need to promote students' participations. And then we brought the ideas of MAP that if we integrate this arts-based approach in teaching and learning, so it helps to promote students' participations, and it also helps to drive students into the path of investigations or inquiry based. So this is our overall principles. And the next one is so what we did in this entire 20 lesson plans. So let me share these three things. So what I realized as a teacher educators, in the majority of teachers and in the majority of time, we are focusing much on the conceptual understanding, because we need to develop, students should need to develop concepts. So the ideas, yeah, it is fine, we need concepts, but more than that, we need this reflective kind of understanding. We need the critical kind of understanding. And what we have observed in these several lesson plans is they provide enough space to develop critical kind of understanding. Even from our field notes, our scholars have written that some of the students who used to be very silent in the classroom, when they engage in this kind of activities, they started to come up with their own ideas, very critical kind of ideas as well. So later on, our friends will share something. So our major focus is that we need conceptual understanding. So this is needed, but this is insufficient. We need to move beyond conceptual understanding if we are aiming to prepare this holistic kind of citizen for creative citizens. So this is our one of the principles. So the next one is because Professor Ananda and then Rajiv sir and Sarah has already mentioned. So let me repeat it again, because we are not considering this arts as just a means of this is a pleasure. So it is an epistemology. This is arts as a ways of knowing, because there are several literatures in these days. They have acknowledged that if we incorporate arts in our day-to-day classroom teaching, so one of the major ideas is it prepares our environment as a very aesthetically rich learning environment. And if we are able to create aesthetically rich learning environment, the students' engagement will be increased. So one is that. The next important thing is it is a social pedagogical process. Because although Nepal, we have a very short history of this so-called formal educations, but through different forms of arts, we have been offering knowledge for centuries, from one generation to another generations. But in the name of these so-called modern education systems, we are neglecting those artistic approach which are still in practice in our several communities. So now it's time to bring those different forms of arts in our education. So Professor Henry Xerox, so she rightly pointed out that art as a public pedagogy. So whenever you show some so through expressions or different forms of arts, so it is not necessary to be a very academically or intellectual persons to understand that's art. So it is a form of public pedagogy. So that if we integrate this arts approach in our educations, then the engagement will increase and students will develop a critical kind of understanding. So keeping these things in mind, this team developed the lesson plan. Now over to you to MC, and then they will share some of the specific examples and lessons learned. So thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah and Assistant Professor Binod Pant sir, for your comprehensive presentation on guiding principles and overview on how we have implemented MAP lesson framework aligning with our national curriculum of Nepal in need of art-based approach in today's educational system. Now it's time to hear from our researcher who had implemented different lessons in their classroom. At first, I request my co-researcher, Mr. Dilli Bahadur Raut, to share his experiences on this research. Over to you, Dilli sir.
Thank you, Durga ma'am. Yes, I have implemented 5 lesson plan in social studies. While reflecting on the implementation of these 5 lesson plan, I have identified key areas where adjustments are necessary to enhance the student engagement and learning outcome. I realized that better preparation and scaffolding are crucial as demonstrated by the initial activities in folk song and our national pride of class 10 social studies. This took more time than expected and required the additional support. Moving forward, I aim to create a more inclusive classroom environment by ensuring balanced group participation and providing the diverse resources. The importance of allocating sufficient time and materials, particularly for complex topics like Nepal old heritage site and cultural activities, was also evident. The use of drama-based learning to facilitate the need for more rehearsal time to align with learning outcome, which I used to clarify the concept of migration in class 12 social studies. Overall, this experience taught me the value of flexible planning, adequate preparation, and fostering a reflective learning environment where all students have the opportunity to actively participate and develop a deeper understanding of social studies. When students perform their arts in different song, folk song, and different dance, they develop the soft skill. They feel quite easy to express their ideas with friends, and their critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity enhance simultaneously. Thank you, Durga ma'am. That much from my side. And I hope you might have some lived experience while implementing this lesson in your context. So, may I request you to share the bunches of lived experience of this research on how you integrate this lesson plan with the local subject of KMC. Durga ma'am, it's up to you.
Okay, thank you. Certainly, Dilli sir. I would like to share my experience of aligning the map lesson on sculpture in clay with the Newari curriculum. It's prescribed by Kathmandu Metropolitan City. By incorporating the map lesson into teaching Newari, we were able to effectively teach various Newari words and aspects of cultures, such as costumes, through the simple gesture. As shown in the picture, students are demonstrating how they celebrate Surya Darshan, which is one of the Newari culture. Additionally, students learn the names of different animals and festivals in English, Nepali, and Newari, enriching their understanding across the multiple languages. Over to you, Dilli sir.
Thank you, ma'am. It's great. Now, may I request my co-researcher, Mr. Tejendra Lamsal, sir, to share on some useful experiences of his research. Tejendra, sir, it's up to you.
Thank you, Dilli sir. Namaste and warm greetings, everyone. It's my honor to share my reflection with you all on the implementation of art-based lesson plans in my school. While implementing integrated art-based lessons in the school, especially as an English teacher in class 9 and 10, I observed really very inspiring things. Primarily, the students actively participated in any lessons, especially in grammar. Students often find it difficult and quite boring too, but through drama and art in general, learning became more active and inclusive. Students participated in a large number. Similarly, at the end of the implementation, some students who came and talked to me that they did not feel comfortable talking to other peers and the teachers in the beginning, but after participating in drama-based activities, they try to speak to other students more openly. Similarly, some of the students reflected to me that they had cool relationship with their peers, and after participating in these discussions, along with learning objectives, they also had others positive side effects, which is repairment of the relationship between friends. Not only this, the drama-based pedagogy helped strengthen the relationship between teacher and students while participating actively in the field inside the class and outside the class in fields that help repair, strengthen the relationship. Similarly, some students said, wow, this pedagogy is really amazing. We learn things, but we don't know that we have already achieved the objectives as planned by the teacher. So they were expecting more drama-based pedagogy. Meanwhile, the drama-based pedagogy helped know the culture of the friends. Though they are studying in the same school, but they are from diverse cultural communities, that help know each other's culture, and also it helped them explore, go back to their culture in itself. And whether it really carries with pedagogy or not, but beyond this, co-facilitating was another amazing thing I experienced, because in other general lessons, it was quite difficult for me to invite other English teachers to invite into my classroom. But when it was drama-based pedagogy, I felt quite easy to invite other English teachers into my class, which was really very amazing and interesting for me. That's all. Over to you, Dilli sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tejendra sir, for such a wonderful ideas in your sharing your experience. I do also want to share some experience of myself while using the drama pedagogy in my classroom, like is our chol, while using the sculpture in clay. I also have same experience. The learners who doesn't like the Newari language that much, they used to love that Newari language and ask for the such type of activities in the learning, because from the simple gesture of the drama, they can learn the different things from there. As told by Rajiv sir in the earlier, from there also they also raises their voices also. So now it's time to listen the another experience from our co-researcher, Ms. Srijana Kumari Pathak. I would like Ma'am Srijana Kumari Pathak to share her experience. Over to you, Srijana ma'am.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes. Okay. Namaste and good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to present my experience and the area for the development of MAP project in Nepal based on challenges I have faced during the implementations of MAP activities in school. First of all, I want to share singing tag lead in activities of MAP based on class 10 social study on the topic of our folk song, focus on Deuda dance. When I implement this plan in the vibrant school ground, students joyful engage in traditional Deuda performance filled with music and laugh. The rhyming West fostering social unity and as students collaborate, dance and singing together. Beyond enjoyment, discussion on Deuda song promote reflection on the social values, awareness and cultural preservation. The dynamic environment connected students to their cultural roots, creating a holistic and enriching educational experience. As a teacher, I found great comfort and joy in transforming lessons on the rich connected materials for our folk songs my study. Students shared that they felt stress-free and joyful during the during the learning process, which enhanced their critical thinking, leadership skill, and promote teamwork. Similarly, in the next interrogations activity on the topic of our identities, students present their cultural dress, their food, music, art, and literature of the different background. Um, at that time, this classroom was like a beautiful flower garden. Similarly, I applied other 3 lessons plan based on different lead activities, and I faced some challenges which I mentioned below. Students engagement. Not all students are excited to participate in the art-based activities, especially teenager girls feel hesitate and shy. So we need to start map experience from a basic level, and we should offer varieties of art forms like theater, visual arts, or music to engage students with different interactions and performance. When we talk about the assessment method, we focus too much on pen and paper assignment. To improve, we should develop a better tool to assess creativity, critical thinking, and collaborations in map-based learning through performance-based assessment and good group project. Next one is resource allocation also. Many activities lack the materials need to map learners. I need to ensure that school have access to the necessary resource, whether through our partnership or digital tools. Then I think limited time for I think limited time for implementing the lessons of human right for role play and drama based. So develop a short flexible map model that fit into the regular school schedule. Every child has different need, and art activities should be depend on meet those needs so that everyone may engage completely whatever their learning style. At last, sustainability, when talking about the sustainability and the collaboration for MAP to succeed in the long term, we need to strategy for sustainable funding and collaborations with the stakeholders, including governments and NGOs. This will help ensure the program continue to grow and benefit more schools. By addressing these areas, we can enhance the effectively and reach of map activities in school, fostering a more creativity and inclusive learning environment. Thank you. Over to Durga ma'am.
Thank you, Srijana ma'am. During the implementation of lesson plan, I have also observed some concern like is we have to plan it well in advance. Next factors, if we link this to the community, it will be quite effective. During the folk song, one group of students sing the Palam song that belongs to the Limbu community. And in my class, none of them from the Limbu community. And I realized after that completion, if I called anyone from the Limbu community, that will be quite productive and quite effective. So we can link this map project to our internal evaluation. So we can give the good feedback to students and we can groom them and we can link it to our evaluation and assessment system. Sometimes while focusing on the process, we hardly forget about the product. The map especially focus on the process, and instead of just envisioning for the refined one, if we give the priority to all students and focus on the inclusive, equitable, and all approach, so it will be productive. Now, may I request our co-researcher, Mrs. Upama KC, to share her insight during the research. Upama, ma'am.
Thank you, Dilli sir. Thank you, everyone who gave me this opportunity to be one of the researcher in this implementation of MAP lesson plan. So while I was implementing the lesson plan, which were based on the MAP manual, so what I could experience and I encounter change in the learning process to some extent. So I also face the same experience the same kind of excitement, eagerness among the learners, and even the constraint that my co-researcher faced during their implementation. So being particular to my experiences, what I observe is the learners were able to critically analyze and challenge existing taboos and practicing while we were discussing about the culturally sensitive issues of menstrual taboos and even the prenatal and postnatal care of the babies in our community. So as the learners belong to different communities, racial and ethnic groups, meanwhile, they even learn to embrace the cultural practice of each other, and in the meantime they are also able to criticize their own cultural practices. So they were more open to the expression of those stigmatized issues on which they were reluctant in talking in other occasions. But what I found was when we initiate the discussion and analysis on those taboos and cultural practices, they're open to the dialogue and discussion. Meanwhile, they even were open to empathetic dialogue regarding the change and the issues like climate change. And what they share with me that when they were preparing for the monologue on such issues, what I found was many of my students who has the experience of participating in the Model United Nations program organized by different institutions and their own educational institution, they feel that, okay, ma'am, it appears like a mini MUN for us, and they are really excited in that monologue creation for the issues of like global climate change and all, which were included in the curriculum of biology. And meanwhile, they were also able to visualize and externalize their thoughts and feelings through arts that was in the form of obstacle tree they created on the different type of pollution. And also, we learn to embrace art as a process of learning, not only as a product of learning. Though they perform the skit before the other students of different other learning groups, but we as a whole, me and the learners who were involved in those activities, we learn to embrace arts as a process of learning and not only the product of learning. So thank you, Dilli sir, for giving me this sharing opportunity.
Thank you, Upama ma'am, for providing such insightful thoughts. One thought, ma'am, put a very strong point. Art is a process. Art is a process of learning, not as a product of learning. Obviously, while implementing our lesson in our classroom, also we also gone through same line as Upama ma'am told. I'd like to thank everyone for your valuable input and your sharing your insightful experience in this platform. Now let's transition into a discussion on how we can take this pilot project forward and expand its reach. Now we like to call Mr. Asst, representative from UNESCO, Kathmandu, for his valuable remarks. Over to you, Asst, sir.
Am I audible? Yes. So
yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you, Durga Madam, for the facilitation and for everyone for your very insightful presentation. So like while these presentations were being made, like it sort of like I started like reflecting on the 4 pillars of education that the UNESCO came in. In fact, it was in one. So it talks about like there are 4 pillars where as sort of foundations to learning. So without those 4 pillars, the learning cannot happen. So the learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be, right? So if we see the education system, like it's not just a context in Nepal, but it's globally, it's been more, so much has been prioritized in a learning to know and a learning to do part. But it's very less has we see when it comes to the learning to live and learning to be component. And as these lesson plans were being presented and shared, I feel like this is a very good reflection on this holistic learning that we see, also incorporating that learning to live together and learning to be component of these learning without missing these different other elements of learning, right? And also something I really felt really like good and about these presentations about as you were sharing is the the promotion that the goodness of the Eastern philosophy, right? So where there is there's always a debate between the Western versus the Eastern philosophy in education system. But if we see this even on the Eastern philosophy part about the holistic, it's sort of a goodness is about it also promotes the the holistic education, right? So where you integrate mind, body, and spirituality, and without this incorporating the art and culture component, the learning cannot be complete, right? So it's not just about the cognitive part of the learning, but also about the emotional and spiritual growth of the learners as well. And so these as I like as you were these pedagogy were different lesson plans were being presented, and you're sharing a reflection that made me realize, like, I think these lesson plans means these can make this learning happen as a holistic process. And this is a very good example of how learning should be happening, right? So not just about this on a cognitive part, but more on a more bigger picture of learning happen. And also like just a way forward, I think that's also something I see is like because I see Rajiv sir was also presenting about local curriculum. I think we should think about the local curriculum as an opportunity for how we should incorporate this, because the culture and things are very much more closely linked with these with the local governments, and they have been trying to promote the different local cultural perspectives in the education system. And then Kathmandu, maybe Navaji from UNESCO would also be sharing about the Kathmandu UNESCO creative city part where that comes in. But also a few just few what two or three pointers like I'd like to highlight is as we move forward. I think something we need to see, and the importance this incorporation of culture and arts in education brings in is if we see the future of education, right? So future of education is seen as a sort of a socialist, it's being promoted as a social contract, as a new social contract, where if we see in a global world, like we have been seeing a rise of extremism and violent extremism in some cases because of different cultural and religious misunderstanding happening. And there is, and so the very much the important that we bringing art and culture into education is about promotion that's really focused on promoting cultural diversity and fostering the appreciation and the understanding part. It comes in, right? So this is also something you share, and I think that needs to be very much well incorporated into the curriculum and education system is why. And these different lesson plans are very good examples on how these different issues could be addressed in days to come, to avoid that we do not become a victim of these and the rise of extremism, and our learners are not become a part of it, but they respect this different really different religious understandings and these things. And second thing is about the agenda of sustainable development, right? So we've been very much focusing on the sustainable development parts. We've been bringing different examples, the global practices, global learnings. But what we sometimes often miss to incorporate is the indigenous and local knowledge that our community holds. And these are there is so much of sustainability incorporated within those system is who else who other than the indigenous community had these sustainable lifestyles, right? So it's so much to learn from these cultural practices and learnings. So which I think we need to incorporate into our education system, which really helps in promoting the agenda of sustainable development through our own education system, through our own knowledge systems. I think that's very important that has been highlighted to this to these different presentations that were made, and it also incorporating these indigenous system and sustainability principles allows also to find alternate ways of understanding the world, right? And what these alternate ways are, actually the local ways to sustainable development. It's we don't need to import anything. It's our own ways of understanding everything. And as I say, like I think towards the end, when as Upama madam was also sharing about the lesson plan, something that also struck in my mind was also the bridging that something like the culture, bringing culture into education is something is very important in bridging gap in the intergenerational learning. So we do have now we have a huge population of younger generations, but we also see that there is a increased gap of the older generation and the younger generation, and that gap has actually led to disconnected learning of very good things that were there in the earlier times. And that I think when we try to bring in culture and arts into education, something we will be able to do is connect that intergenerational learning. But saying so, as highlighted by madam during the presentation, I say it's also very important to come up with the critical culture relativism, right? So to understand the context of how and why these the different practices were there, and also critically reflecting on the taboos and harmful practices. So we actually can pass on the good practices, the sustainable practices that we had from our cultural aspect, cultural learnings, but then leave out those harmful things, say, in our culture. And so I think it's really I see like these are the elements, and these type of the pedagogical tools and learnings that I think should be very much well incorporated in our education system. And these type of lesson plans certainly would be very helpful as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agat Awasthi sir, for highlighting 4 pillars of learning as envisioned by the UNESCO and shedding the light on Eastern philosophy. Learning should accelerate the cognitive, affective, and spiritual part of learner, and it's important to promote local culture and art for holistic learning. As you also highlighted, the essential to include the sustainable development in our classroom learning. Now, we have also Navabasnath sir, representative from UNESCO. We also request the Nava sir to put your valuable remarks, please.
Namaste. Can you hear me well?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you to MAP program, Lincoln University and Kathmandu University, and congratulations on the your pilot initiatives in Nepal and for creating such excellent 20 lesson plans. And on behalf of UNESCO, I would like to say that we would be happy to continue our collaboration as we've done in the past. I just wanted to make one comment that the lesson plan that was implemented was conducted in secondary education level, and it was done mostly by 2 grade 10 students, I believe. So the grade 10 students already have SES examination, board examination. So was it extra burden for them, or perhaps next it could be piloted to smaller grades, and you would be able to judge this more. So I just wanted to make that one small comment. And sorry, yeah, and I wanted to highlight some of the key elements of UNESCO Culture and Arts Education Framework 2024, and that could be linked with your pilot lesson plan and the work you are doing. So the Culture and Art Education Framework emphasizes on the role of digital technology to enhance learning experience. So, and also in 2023, our roundtable discussion that we had also emphasized on the need to incorporate technology. That I didn't see in the lesson plan. So maybe in the next phase, it could be done. And for that, of course, you need to train the teachers, you need, as well as students, to incorporate digital technology. So I wanted to highlight that. And another element of Culture and Art Education Framework is it recognizes the role of cultural and creative industries to promote economic growth, and as Agaji said, sustainable development, and also the potential of culture and creative industry to create jobs. So skill development, skills that is needed for the future. Such as digital literacy, culture, creative entrepreneurships, and also Kathmandu, as you know, is now UNESCO Creative City. It's a creative city of films, and Kathmandu Metropolitan City also aims to provide skills in formal and informal education system, actually. So in collaboration with institutes and community learning centers, so there could be link there, and CLC's community learning centers could be utilized for skill development programs for the students. So these few things I wanted to highlight about digital technology and creative industries and the skill development in your moving forward in the next steps as per the UNESCO Culture and Art Education Framework. So I think that's it from my side, and congratulations once again and all the best, and we are here to collaborate and support in your future work.
Thank you so much, Navabosne Thapa ma'am, for your valuable insight on this pilot project. Now, would you like to call Mr. Purushottam Ghimire sir from CDC Nepal for his valuable remarks? Purushottam sir, it's up to you, please.
Thank you very much, Dilli sir, for this opportunity. It is very much insightful for me. Basically, we have focused 3 levels of art integration in curricula, textbook, and other instructional materials, such as art as curriculum, art enhanced curriculum, and art integrated curriculum. Professor Ananda has shared excellent viewpoint on it as opening. We believe that Nepal is rich in cultural practices such as local songs, instruments, festivals, and so on. Thus, I am so happy by being with by seeing or observing Mr. Rajiv's presentation, and he has clearly covered the approaches such as art as curriculum. In the second level, we have focused art enhanced curriculum with the concept of art as a process of delivering content. Ms. Sarah has well presented it. In third level, we have focused on art integration with the transdisciplinary concept. Mr. Binod has well presented it with the developed framework. From implementer's point of view, as a curriculum developer or curriculum officer point of view, it is great help for students, teachers, and for Nepal government also. The experiences of our colleagues will enrich, so we are so hopeful on that. Therefore, thank you very much for once again for this learning opportunities. Finally, I'm so glad and happy for August sir's presentation. He raised the issue of diversities in educational issue. This is very important for us. This learning is so much insightful for us. Thank you very much for this opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Purushottam sir, for your remarkable views in your sharing. Before moving ahead, we kindly request our esteemed speakers to limit their remarks to 2 minutes as we are running short on time. So now we would like to call Mr. Khilnaran Shrestha sir from ERO for his remarks. Over to you, Mr. Khilnaran Shrestha sir.
Namaste and warm greeting to all. It's a really insightful presentation. Thank you and congratulations for the researcher and all presenter and mentor and universities and collaborators. Really, the art is the part of human life, so we cannot ignore the art in education. This is the most important part of the art of the education. I want to highlight some basic foundation of the development of basic curriculum in grade 1 to 3, where we have already, the Purushottam sir already mentioned, we use usually art as the pedagogy. At that time, we envision to use the art as pedagogy, but we don't know more about how to use these arts in pedagogy. You have presented some snaps, some examples, samples to integrate the art in the lesson. So it is very good initiative, but I have some observation. We have some problems like challenges like time management. When we use the art as pedagogy, the time consuming is one issue because the students engage and we cannot control the time, and we have to finish the desired learning outcome also. So that will be the one challenge. And next is this shifting the mindset, and that is student mindset as well as teachers mindset, society mindset, because in our society, when we use the art, then the parents say they are enjoying, not learning. So that is the issue. How we can overcome this issue, that is the challenge. Similarly, connecting the art with the content, that is also another a big problem. You have presented the 20 lesson plans. In that lesson plan, I have go superficially. You have integrated the content well, but planning such lesson is really challenge because of the capacity of teacher and our grown up also. And next challenge is contextualization. If we study the resources and we try to use such resources in our lesson, but our context is different. So our culture, our beliefs, our society, our activities, how to connect such cultures, such our indigenous things to art, that contextualization part is very important. And if we continue to use, then the making the students creator of art activity rather than the consumer only, that is also a problem. There is no doubt art is very important to make the students to learn them how to learn, and to make them mindfulness, to connect the heart, head and hand part, and to make them meaningful learning, and to develop the creativity, 21st century skills, and that everything for sustainable development. My one suggestion for you is you have developed the lessons in upper class and in the selected topic. So let's try to take one's grade and try to map the content throughout the grade level, and how many contents, how many topics, or how many units can we cover, can we deliver with the art-based pedagogy. Let's try. And that is in holistic approach. We can integrate the one subject and other subject also, since it is the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary things. So the next step can be the starting from the basic level, because the curriculum envisions more art integration, more integrated learning and transdisciplinary learning in basic levels, and covering the whole grade, one single grade, whole content of single grade, and how we can manage the plan. Let's see from that point. That is my one suggestion. Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Khilaran sir, for your remarks and highlighting the existing opportunities and challenges of this MAP project. And as you suggest that this MAP project is better to start from the early grade, and we appreciate your recommendation. On the same manner, we would like to call Mr. Ram Chandra Luitel sir from CDC for his valuable remarks on this webinar. Please, Ram sir.
I think
Ram sir.
I think he got disconnected, so we can move to the next.
Okay, I'll move forward, and we would like to call Mr. Govinda Karki, Education Officer of Local Government, for his notable remarks. Govinda sir, please.
Thank you so much, sir, and namaste to you all. First of all, I was very happy to read an art-based research on class 10, the social subjects. This research helps to develop children's skill, including creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and imagination. It is necessary to include and incorporate art-based learning in the local curriculum also. It is necessary and it is necessary to include art-based teaching program in the periodic plan, periodic plan or education plan also, 10-year or 5-year education plan of the municipality and implemented them. The lesson plan model prepared by researching here is very special. I will encourage teacher to implement the lesson plan model of this research in the local level and school where I work. I also pleased to advocate this art-based research at the working of my local level. Thank you, UNESCO team and Kathmandu University team, researcher and co-researcher team, also all of you from, and thank you for my, it is the golden opportunity to delivering my short and sweet speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Govinda Karki sir, for your notable remarks. Certainly, art helps to develop creativity, imagination among the learners and make learning more inclusive. Now, we now invite questions and opinions from our participants. Please feel free to share your questions in the chat box or unmute your microphone to express your thoughts and views. We have only 5 minutes to open our floor. So if there's any questions or any queries, you can feel free to keep it in the chat box or you can unmute your microphone and put your views.
Surya sir,
Excuse me.
please unmute and put your queries, please.
Warm good evening and namaskar, respected professors, associate professors, all educators from different fields, STEM educators. Being a STEM scholar, one question raised and trigger in my mind, as long as researchers presented this is as a pilot project, so what is your main focus? Your main focus is local curriculum or secondary level institution schools, social studies or public schools, social studies or mid-level or what? Pilot project, if I'm not mistaken, should be, I think, strict on one particular part because we need to see what worked and what did not work. Or else how we can go for the project. If it is pilot, then this piloting project will be, I think, reviewed and will be implemented. So there is, I think, for what level it is focused, this research is focused as a pilot project. It's, I just could not understand the things clearly. Please, can you make me understand what is your focus?
Okay, thank you, Surya sir, for your questions. I will tell Dilli sir to add on later in his question. Before that, I also want to add on. Especially it is for the everyone. It is not particular for private school or public school. It is for everyone because it is more focused on art-based pedagogies. While using art-based pedagogies, it makes learner more inclusive in the learning. As I'm a researcher, I'm implementing art not only in the local language, but I also use in the mathematics also. Because as we take the mathematics as a technical subject where we cannot include all the students in the learning, but through the using the art integration in the learning, we are capable to make learning more inclusive. So in Suresh's question, I want to add on that this is for all the learners from early grade to higher grade. Is we are teaching in higher grade, so we have implemented this pilot project or plan in our classroom. And I also use one project in grade 3 also, which I will share later on, because this is also very useful for our early learner also. So I think in this question, our my co-researcher, Dilli sir, also wants something. Okay, over to you, Dilli sir.
Thank you, Durga ma'am. You are absolutely right. We are not looking here the level, either it may be basic or secondary. We are not looking about the school type, either community or institutional, or we are not looking here about any subject. We try our best to implement in the all subject, all level, all type of school. And here we have to include art-based pedagogy from ECD up to the higher studies also. And here, if we use the art-based pedagogy in our learning, it will be quite supportive for the student. We envision about the holistic learning, and our learning expect to enhance and foster the soft skill on the learner. And this art-based pedagogy is quite useful for that one. Thank you. I add that much. Durga ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dilli sir. Before moving ahead, I like to acknowledge the presence of Dean of Dr. Professor Dr. Bal Chandra Luitel, Dean of Kathmandu University School of Education, to put his valuable remarks in this webinar. Over to you, Bal sir.
I think we can see him, but
yeah,
due to some issues.
So moving further, we request participants to raise a hand if you have any queries or any question with anyone in this webinar, or you can keep your question in the chat box. So our researcher, our other participants will also answer in those questions. So we request everyone to keep your questions, your queries, your opinions, your remarks.
Excuse me, good evening to everyone. Actually, it is not the question, as this is a very fruitful session. As we are integrating art to different subjects in teaching learning pedagogy, I am eager to know what kind of assessment criteria. Isn't it quite hard to isn't it quite hard to fix some rubrics to assess when we are integrating art in the pedagogy? Just a query. Anybody can answer.
Okay, for
thank
these,
you.
For
Thank
these
you,
questions.
Yeah. We have designed the rubrics for this approach because there are parts, reflection of the learning and evaluation. For that one, we use the rubrics. Whether a student perform their drama, whether a student sing a song, whether a student compose any song at the time. In order to do the authentic evaluation, we use the rubrics. Of course, your concern is right. It is quite hard, but as a teacher, we have to work. Otherwise, how we can go for the authentic evaluation? Thank you, Suresh sir and Usama for your queries. And we hope that remaining participants will put your queries in the chat box. We will now look ahead to the next step for continuing and expanding this work. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Ananda, Assistant Professor Binod Prasad Pant sir, and Dr. Sarah Huxley to share their ideas on how we should proceed from here, including any plan for forming sub-working group. Professor Ananda, please, it's up to you.
Thank you so much for an incredibly rich discussion and all the incredible work that our researchers and students and partnering schools from Kathmandu University have engaged with to create these lesson plans. So huge thanks to everyone and to all of you for your participation today. So in terms of next steps, we have been working with UNESCO in terms of linking the MAP methodology to the culture and arts education framework. And we hope that this will impact UNESCO's culture and arts education framework moving forward. And we have been working with UNESCO at a local level in Nepal, but also at a global level with UNESCO Paris. We're also working on the function of youth researchers in terms of kind of youth policy and youth engagement and civic engagement work with UNESCO. And we're working alongside our partnering organizations and higher education institutions in our partnering countries of Rwanda, Indonesia, and Kyrgyzstan as well, in terms of using arts-based education approaches in teaching and learning, setting up continuing professional development or CPD programs, particularly related to music, dance, and drama, and also art and health in Rwanda, as well as informing a mental health in schools program. So those are some of the next steps. It was also mentioned today, the focus on local curriculum, and we agree that that's a really important strategy in terms of really engaging local epistemology, knowledge production, and wisdom to inform curriculum. And we recently are developing and piloting a project with our partnering organization, Janaki Women Awareness Society, or JAWAS, and Janakpur, in which we've developed a local curriculum using Mithila arts, in which we're working with 18 teachers, one teacher across 18 schools, serving 3,200 students from grade 1 to 5 who will benefit from that local curriculum. So those are just some examples of next steps. Over to you, Sarah and Binod, in terms of any other suggested actions.
Okay, just a minute, because Professor Luitel, he was in another class and we just requested him for a short remarks. So Durga ma'am, please just ask, and then we'll continue for the next 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Now, first, we also like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Dr. Bal Chandra Luitel, Dean, Kathmandu University School of Education, or UNESCO Chair for the Teacher Education. And we request him to present his valuable insight in this webinar. Over to you, Bal sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. Actually, this looks like a very impactful project going on, collaborative work going on. So bringing culture and arts in the framework of educational process and thinking process and outcomes. So this is very, very important, first and foremost. And second is, Nepal is a country, multilingual, multicultural country with at least, 120 different ethnic groups, ethnic communities, and they have different forms of arts and representations, cultural representations. And Kathmandu University, in collaboration with a funder who, set up an endowment fund to award the local and indigenous knowledge that includes arts and locally developed arts and crafts. And recently we have selected 3 persons. One actually works with the people in Janakpur, down south, and they are working in preserving Mithila art and culture, and also working with people who are engaged in preserving forest, particularly in the form of community forest. And they have been using art, art and culture to sensitize people about forest. So that's one. And second category, we have also, one of the finalists is also from Janakpur. She has been teaching and producing Mithila art. And third is also not from Tarai, from Janakpur, from Kathmandu. She is working in in the field of craft, actually. So different crafts of different ethnicities have been developed, and they have actually been exported. So MC is leading that particular movement in Nepal, and we have also selected her. So this is a coincidence that you are also working across culture and arts education framework, and I hope this will continue and will support through UNESCO chair and on behalf of UNESCO chairholder. We have a network in Nepal, India, and across South Asia. There are around 16 chairs in education and also other areas, but particularly in education, Nepal, Bangladesh, India, and Sri Lanka particularly. So we are also having a network meeting probably next year in 2025 in Kathmandu, and one of the themes is arts and climate change. I mean, we are thinking several. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you. Good luck, and wish you all the best. And I'm more than happy to discuss because UNESCO is also involved here, and UNESCO and my office are very happy to discuss the next step possible projects that we can promote across education system. We promote arts and culture across education system. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Durga ma'am, you are muted.
Durga ma'am.
Now we'll finish in next 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Dr. Bal Chandra Luitel, for your insightful opinion in highlighting on how Kathmandu University has been engaging in promoting art in the learning. So I request Assistant Professor Binod Prasad Pant sir to put his views. Over to you,
Thank
Binod.
you. So thank you so much. We are towards the end. So first I request Dr. Sarah to share a few things, and then I'll share a few ideas towards the end. So we'll finish in next 2 or 3 minutes. So Dr. Sarah, please.
Dhanyavad. Thank you, Binodji. I think all I wanted to say was just to really acknowledge the wealth of experience and the collaboration across everyone, from the students, teachers. There's such a rich ecosystem of arts education learning. So really it was just to offer continued support. And I see that Ananda's put in the chat, exactly. It would be great for us to continue to root and continue to embrace and reach out with other colleagues that are interested in arts education. So over to you, Binod. There's nothing else to say apart from to appreciate and honor all of you and extend the network that we are becoming.
Okay, so thank you so much for your short remarks. So so let me share only one thing to this forum, because they all 5 our research scholars, so they contributed it in a completely voluntary basis. So because we are much interested to generate knowledge from our own implementation phase. So please note that. So there was a map project at the initial, but this team joined towards the completions of the project. So just we wanted to continue this initiative. So when I shared these ideas to our friends, and then they agreed to contribute this. So they prepared those lessons. We had several meetings, and then they also implemented from their side. So I think if you have listened it carefully, almost all of them, they did not only celebrate those ideas, they are critical to itself also. So they are very critical whether it can be used in other places. There are issues of assessment, there are issues of time management, there are issues of mindset while collaborating with other kind of teachers. So this is a resource group. So what I kindly request all of you to form a group, because we are open to continue this, because our dean sir also has emphasized that we are ready to contribute in the future. So now let's prepare a small team, several small teams, and prepare other 20, 50 or 100 lesson plans and implement in our own context, and work for joint publications, because We are academician, we are teacher educators, so we need to contribute in knowledge generations process rather than only using so-called established grand theories. So let's implement it, and then let's try to learn something new. So this is my kind request to collaborate in the future and then do some joint work. So thank you so much for joining. So I think Dilli sir, Durga ma'am, you will close the session. So thank you once again for all of you for giving your valuable time, Professor Anand, Sarah. So over to you, Dilli sir, Durga ma'am. You can, I think, you can.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Ananda, great Assistant Professor Binod, Sir, Dr. Sarah Huxley, and everyone for today's session for your valuable contribution, valuable insight, and queries. Thank you again and have a wonderful evening. We'd like to sum up the session here.